Hi everyone, Chris here from Ielts Advantage, and today we have another success story. Alden has very graciously decided to share his success with you guys and give you advice on how you can get a 7 or above in your IELTS test. He recently got the scores that he needed for his PR application in Canada, and he's going to share his success with you guys. So, Alden, can you start off just by introducing yourself to everyone?
Hi everyone. So this is Alden Menzalji, and I am a software engineer working in Canada. And basically, we are developing websites, and I'm based in Toronto, and it's getting cold here.
Good. So can you take us through a little bit of your IELTS journey? So how many times did you do the test? What scores
Sure.
were you getting before you started working with us?
Sure. So after graduation, I thought about going for TOEFL or the IELTS, just because I wanted to go for master's degree or applying for scholarships here and there, but it did not work for me because I had misunderstanding about different concepts, whether the TOEFL I need to speak in American accent or IELTS with like British accent, those kind of things. I did not, this is just my thought that time. So I just tried 1 or 2 months, then I quit. But now when I really needed to go through some official English test, so I tried, uh, I joined your course, and I was I studied 2 3 hours a day for, I think, 3 4 months. And
Wow.
there was some like 2 weeks I didn't study because I have a lot of work. But yeah, this was my journey, and I just did that once. I made sure that I submit all my corrections and I get the feedback that I want. I went through for the 4 speaking mock tests that's provided with a membership. And when I felt ready, I just booked my exam and went for it. So that was my first shot.
Excellent. Not many people get as high a scores as you got on your first go. So congratulations.
Yeah,
Do you
thanks.
mind sharing your scores with everyone?
Yeah, sure. So I got 8 in reading and 7.5 in each of listening and speaking, and then 7 for writing.
Excellent. Which one did you struggle with the most, or which one, like when we were giving you feedback, what big problems did you see that you needed to fix before you were able to do the test?
Writing part. So the easiest ones for me were reading
Mhm.
and listening, because literally it depends on me only. So I can listen. I know the answer sheet at the end of the video or at the end of the exercise, and then I can correct myself.
Mhm.
I know what my score is, but with speaking and writing, if there's no native speaker who's sitting beside me, and correct my mistakes, I will never know what's going on.
It's a really important thing for anyone watching to understand the difference between listening and reading and speaking and writing. Listening and reading are receptive skills. So the great thing about listening and reading is that it's okay. You can get a teacher like me to show you strategies and give you some advice, but the best way that a student can improve their reading and listening is to actually work by themselves, look at their own mistakes, and they can figure out their own mistakes. The problem with speaking and writing is it's not a receptive skill. You're not receiving the information, you're producing the information. So you need someone like me or another teacher to look at what you have produced or listen to what you have produced and then give you feedback on that. Does that make sense in your mind?
Of course. And the struggle for me changed, or I realized new things when I get my first feedback. So before that, I thought that I have a problem with my accent, or I have problem with my pronunciation, or, accent and pronunciation, they are different things. But I thought that I need to have a best accent to go for and get 7 or 8 or whatever. But once I got my first feedback, I realized things that I did not realize before. Things like plurals and articles. So
Mhm.
in our language, the Arabic language, we have articles, but we use them in different way. In English, countable and uncountable names, and whether it's definitive and definitive. So it was real struggle for me. And once I realized those, then I worked on them. It's really hard. It was really hard for me because my mind is trained for different kind of usage for the articles, and I realized that my whole life I was using wrong articles in English because I was using the same way I use them in my native language. So I really fixed that, and like now when I write something, I feel like it's stronger. It sounds like native.
Yeah. I mean, there's two important points there. The first important point, and this really messes up a lot of students, is that they worry and focus on the wrong things. So you were really worried about your accent and your pronunciation, and there's no problem whatsoever about with your pronunciation, but you had no idea that you had major grammar issues and you weren't worried about your grammar at all. So, and I've an extreme example of this is in the speaking test. Students will worry about how to greet the examiner, what clothes to wear, eye contact, body language, hand gestures, and none of these things matter at all. Like they have zero contribution to your act. And a lot of students spend all of their preparation time worrying about these things. And then when they don't get the score that they need, they're kind of shocked because they're like, oh, but I greeted the examiner well and my hand gestures were like this and I had a British accent. None of these things really matter. So I think it's really important that students differentiate the things that do matter from the things that don't matter. Would you agree with that?
Of course, and especially like I really knew what I'm going for. So I have problem with articles. The articles are used in every single sentence
Yeah.
at least once, and then if I want to get 7, then more than 50% of my sentences should be error free. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no way I'm gonna get that 7 or more if I still have an
Yeah.
articles issues. So that really link things together in my mind, and I realized how important it's just a or an article, but they are very, very important.
Yeah, it'd be like if you're doing coding and you're doing software development and there's one mistake in every line of
That's it.
code, it's not going to be a
Gonna
great
blow up.
website. It's going to be a problem. So
That's right.
it's a very common thing for students to have a problem with articles and maybe prepositions, or prepositions and punctuation. And like punctuation, prepositions, articles are in every single sentence. So if you have a problem with one of those or two of those, or often all three of those, and the sneaky thing about those areas of grammar is that you can be communicating with people quite fluently, but you're unaware that you're making these little mistakes, especially if there's some kind of interference from your native language. For example, yourself, an Arabic speaker, you do use articles, but in a different way. A Russian speaker, in Russian, they don't use articles at all, so they would have problems with them. An Italian speaker, they use punctuation, but they use it a little bit differently from how an English speaker would use it when they're writing. So it often is not that your grammar is bad. It is just that there's something about your native language which is a little bit different, and that can cause the issues. And it's really difficult because it's a habit that you have had since you're a little boy or a little girl, and it's difficult to break that habit. But the first step is being aware of that mistake, and then you can fix it.
That's right. And there's one more thing for me. I think it was, yeah, the synonyms. So when I attended the course, you said that do not take chances in synonyms, but I was like, this word looks very interesting, and if I use it, I will impress the examiner or whatever. But I did that twice in my submissions, and I took chances and they were correct. But once I took chance, I think my third or fourth submission for the essay, and I got hit by the examiner. Like, this one is, you got 6. like why everything was cool. There's no like there's error-free sentences. There are good articles and stuff, but he told me that this single sentence I could not understand. It's confusing for me because you took chances in this synonym, and if there's one sentence, I mean, this is what I know. You can correct me if I'm wrong. If there's one sentence that's confusing for the reader, they did not really get the content or the meaning out of it, you jeopardize your chances of getting 7.
Yeah,
So
because it could be a key sentence, like a topic sentence, for example, or an explanation sentence. Again, going back using coding, for example, you might not, if you have one important line of code, that can ruin the whole website or the whole program.
of
And
course,
exactly the same with an important sentence in a whole essay. It can make the whole essay confusing. So you know, the examiners are not that tough that one little synonym, if the rest of your essay is perfect, it but sometimes that is the case,
because it
that it,
confused the meaning of the sentence.
exactly.
Yeah,
So for example, let's say we're talking about farming. So a synonym of farming would be agriculture. A synonym of agriculture and farming is also horticulture. But horticulture is the growing of garden plants, like, nice flowers and things like that. So if you were writing an essay on agriculture and you start talking about horticulture, it would be very confusing, because it would be like, well, why are you talking about growing roses and nice flowers and things like that when the essay is about producing crops and cows and sheep and pigs and things like that. So even though the word horticulture sounds very impressive and it's a very high level, fancy word, it doesn't help your essay at all, and it makes it even, makes it worse, because you've got a lower score for not only vocabulary, but it can also affect the meaning. So might affect did you answer the question properly, so task achievement, but it can also make the sentences less clear, more confusing for the examiner, so that can bring down your coherence and cohesion score. So it sounds harsh, but that's why we say don't take chances, just use the synonyms you know how to use. And I think many students are afraid to use the vocabulary that they already know. And for most students who need a 7, not all, but most students, their vocabulary is fine. And using the vocabulary that they already have will get them a 7. But when they try to use all these fancy words, then that brings their score down. So, and that was the case for you. You got a 7 in writing, which means you got at least a 7 for vocabulary. So your vocabulary was fine. So there's no need for you to take any chances.
that's right. I just try to be safe with my synonyms and how I phrase things. So yeah, and that worked for me.
Excellent. Excellent. So how did you overcome these problems? Or imagine you're giving your friend advice who's doing the test and is in a similar position, and has similar problems. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think like let's go for writing. For writing, there is a few types of essays, either opinion essay, discussion, whatever. So I just categorize them in my mind. If I'm gonna get something with like opinion essay or discussion essay, it's very easy structure. So there will be something confusing in the content. Or if I'm gonna get something for like advantages and disadvantages or solution and effects and stuff, so the structure will be more complicated. That's why the content will be straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the case for me. So when I just read the question, to what extent do you agree or disagree, I know it's opinion essay. So I was looking for, I literally read the question before the statement. So I knew that I'm looking for the question and I'm looking for a confusing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really the case. So the question was, there was some ban in using the cars in city centers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree or disagree?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, in city centers,
Yeah, not in
You
general.
cannot talk about pollution because
Yeah.
the cars are polluting environment out of the city centers. So you need to talk about something like congestion in small area, rush hours in the morning and the evenings. So you just need to know what they are asking you and what they are looking for in your question and your answer,
Yeah.
and then you will get whatever score you want.
A good technique is to look at the general topic. So from 30,000 feet, what is the general topic? Don't write about that. Zoom in and what is the specific thing within the general topic. So the general topic for that would be transport. And a lot of people would just see that and just write everything they know about cars and pollution and things like that. They are answering the question wrong, probably. But if you zoom down in, okay, why are cars banned in city centers? Then you start to really hone in on the actual question. So that's great advice.
Yeah, thanks for that. And what else? I have some. Uh, I think confusion for me was, if you find a good resource or a good source of information, just stick with it and the way they are teaching things. Do not go for like different things. For me, it was just the course, and I did not buy. And I'm not saying that buying books or something is bad, but just for my case, I like to focus on one thing. In the course, there's first the course, and then the marketing criteria for each one of this, and then there will be live example about how we solve things, and then there will be examples and the attachment there. So it's literally all what I want. So, and then there's some you can get an interactions with teachers, like speaking, mock test, and submissions. So that's literally all what I wanted to get what I want. So sticking to one source, one good source, was the key for me.
Yeah, it's one of the key reasons why people struggle with the IELTS test, because there's a lot of great resources out there, and then there's a lot of not so great resources out there. But if you just got 4 teachers who were the best in the world at teaching IELTS, and you followed all 4, you probably are not going to do so well, because they're going to be teaching it in a slightly different way, which is going to cause a lot of confusion, and will also mean that you are a little bit confused on test day. And as I always say, your writing will be a reflection of your thinking. So if your thinking is confused, you're like, well, this guy said to do topic sentence this way, and then the other guy said to do it that way, and then the other girl said to not write it at all. And that's going to lead to a lot of stress, panic, confusion, which will lead to a very messy essay. So not saying you have to follow me, just follow one person and do it their way. And obviously, your second point, get feedback on your writing, on your speaking, because they will instantly tell you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and then you'll save so much time and stress in the future. So.
Yep, that's right. And there was as well the community.
Mm-hmm.
So when I struggle with something, I just go to I get a notification on the Facebook group that there's somebody who's talking about articles. So the struggle is real here. It's not only me. There's other people. And then you will find answers from students who either like done their exam or they are studying now. So they will tell you how they fix those things. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not like you have a problem or question, you Google it, you get a very generic answer that may work or may not work for you. So in the Facebook group, that community gave me the spirit of like, okay, there's a problem, solution, solve it, that's it, go for the next problem. So the
Yeah.
community helped me a lot.
Yeah, it's great being surrounded by people who have the same attitude as you. So if you go to a normal IELTS class, 10 or 20% will be really determined to get the score that they need, but then the other the other
That's
students
right.
might be like their parents are forcing them to go to the class, or they're not really motivated. So the VIP students are all very, very, very motivated and dedicated too. So I think that in itself pushes you on and helps you with your work as well, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think here the last part I want to talk about is the feedback. So the submissions of the essays. So basically, I submit my essay now, and then I discover I mean, I will get the feedback from the examiner with like sharing their screens with a Word file, highlighting all those mistakes and talking to me. So they mentioned specific things and how I fixed them. And then for my next submission, I had to fix those and tell my story. How did I fix them? What did I do to that makes me feel that I'm better now? So like I worked like 1 or 2 mistakes a time. I fix them one by one. And then when I reached to the point where like I feel confident now, I know what 7 looks like, what 7.5. And literally when I submit like the last 4, I know the score. I knew it. So I'm going to get this just because of that. I mean, not in the moment, because at the last 4, I'm submitting in the exam conditions. So I finish everything, I submit, then I review myself. So I know what I'm gonna get. So there's something with the tense, something with the article. So it was really good. And there was some key feedbacks. Like I remember Sandy told me, the teacher, like this word does not exist in English. So that's stick and into my mind. So I never use that again.
Yeah.
So there was some really good stuff there.
Yeah, we believe in being 100% honest with the students. So sometimes it might come across as very harsh, but we would rather tell you things like that than you do them on test day, and then you don't get the score that you need.
Yeah, he was very very friendly. I'm not saying that, but the word was like that was very like it stick to my mind. It's very strong. Like it does not. Oh yeah, I shouldn't use it.
Yeah, the way that the advice that I give the teachers is like, if your wife or your husband or your son or your daughter submitted an essay to you, how would you speak to them? You'd be friendly and you tell them the things that they're doing well, but you would be very honest about their mistakes as well. So
that's right.
I think that's our methodology that we use, as I think a lot of teachers are afraid to be too honest with students. Because it's a natural human thing that you don't want to give someone negative feedback. But we tell the teachers, you're not doing anybody any favors by not being 100% honest, because our job is to help students, not to be their friends. So
that's right.
So you had Sandy, and I think Jennifer helped you as well, wasn't it?
And Jason, and speaking as well.
And Jason. I'll let them know that you said.
Yeah. Please, especially in the part 2 of the speaking, like Jason laid down the things. Like if you get if you get a question, tell them a story. Start with habit. Like if you are talking about your friend, just say, hey, I'm gonna tell you about a story about my friend, but before that, let me tell you about me as a friend. So habits, then some story in the past, then come to the present, and then talk about the future. So you will cover all. So whatever you think about tenses, it's going to be covered with this very little structure. So it helped me a lot.
Excellent. I'll let all the teachers know.
Please.
They're working very hard, and when we get a successful student like you, it gives them a lot of motivation, a lot of job satisfaction. So I'll let
Thank
them
you so much.
Thank you so much, Alden. And in the future, if you need us for anything, you're still a VIP. So don't worry about it. If you want to get in contact with us or you need anything, feel free to get in touch.
Sure. Thank you so much for that.
All right, Alden. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Hey, Chris here again. Hopefully you enjoyed that success story video. That student was part of our IELTS VIP course. And on that course, we show students exactly where they're going wrong and exactly what to do to get the score that they need. And we give them all the help and support that they need in order to get a 7, 8, or even 9 in their IELTS test. Now, we only work with a really, really small number of students. Because of the level of help and feedback and support that we give students, we can only work with a very, very small number of them. But we also have more success stories than any other online or offline course in the world, which has created a huge amount of demand for our course. So we're the only course in the world, I believe, that has a very, very, very long waiting list. If you want to join that waiting list, all you have to do is just click here and you'll be able to add your name, add your email address, and then when one of our students becomes successful and leaves the course, the next position can be for you. Hopefully see you in there. Bye-bye.